So say something.
Me. Testing 1, 2.
All right, we're good.
That should be the cold open 1 week. Just we're recording, say something, and then just like some off the wall, not sequitur, you know?
Yeah, I got you. All right, I'm gonna go with it. So Daryl, I have a question for you.
Probably have an answer.
What is football really?
God, not this again. Football is a figment of our imaginations, obviously.
This week on Philosophy and Existentialism Weekly, we discuss your very existence.
Did you really have a lit time last night?
Yeah. I mean, did you really consume the amount of alcohol you say you did?
They wake up to see that the Astros game had been delayed, or is it really happening right now? And you imagine that?
Yeah, it's really being delayed.
All right, cool. Weird intro, but
yeah. What's
going?
Yeah. Oh, whichever.
The same time. Okay. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Let's do this. Let's do an improv sentence. That's how we'll do it. So we'll intro the show. I do one word, you do the other word. You ready?
Got you. All right.
Hello.
Welcome
to
the
Gameday
Breakfast
podcast.
I'm Spencer.
Say 2 words. Say 1.
Well, you know what? I'm still Spencer. That hasn't changed.
No, fair enough. Well, my man, how has your week been?
It's been good. I'm on vacation. I'm in the lovely state of Florida right now, staying in a cabin at a campground that me and
talk about that, man, because you saw Death Valley on the way. What else did you see?
Yeah, I saw Death Valley on the way. Passed up the University of Southern Mississippi. I didn't pass by it, but I passed by the general vicinity of where it's at. I passed up.
The school? Did you really pass the school, or did you pass what you thought was the school?
I passed a sign that pointed to the school.
What was that sign in truth? Was it?
It said.
Are they there?
It said the University of Mississippi, Southern Mississippi. Take this exit.
Yeah, but did your mind cast the letters onto that sign, or did the sign truly say that?
It may very well have. I'm not sure.
Continue.
I passed up what I believe is the University of South Alabama's campus. The team whose logo you really like, the Jaguar logo that you really like.
Oh, yeah.
I passed up their campus, and then I went through the tunnel in Mobile, Alabama, which Brianna doesn't like every time we come down here, but it's fine. It lasts about 30 seconds, and then it's done from there. So, but yeah, man.
Well, that's awesome, man. And then you saw Joker today. I heard that was pretty awesome.
Joker, it's such a good movie. If you are a comic book fan in any way, please go see Joker. It is so good.
I've heard nothing but good about it, except for my dad. My dad saw some news report that the Joker was like that the movie was evil or something along those lines. And then when he told me this, like the evil was the word he used, and I was like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah,
so we've gone round and round about it, but I haven't seen it yet. I plan on seeing it this coming weekend, probably.
It's really, really good, and like there was a twist. Well, I don't want to say too much without giving it away, but there are several moments in the movie that are going to make you go, oh. Yeah, it's really, really good.
There was a game this weekend that made me go, oh, just like that.
Yeah.
And it was one South Carolina versus Georgia, at Georgia, mind you.
First big upset of the year, man.
And this one was huge. I mean, no one saw this coming.
Yeah, I was eating lunch during this time, and it was I was in New Orleans, and it was going on at the same time as the UT Oklahoma game, and they had that on the TV, and then it popped up on my phone, and it was like, and I saw that they had taken, I saw that South Carolina had taken Georgia into overtime, and I was like, oh, okay, so Georgia's offense is going to step up with a short field, they're going to get a touchdown, and they're going to escape, they're going to survive. And then I look up, and they had gone to 2 overtimes, and South Carolina had won, and I was like, oh. Well, down goes number 3. Yeah.
Right, right. Well, and it kind of so, and this is what was interesting to me is that this was not a trap game by any means. If this had been a situation where where South Carolina had come off of a really hot win, Georgia didn't look so good the past week. They go into South Carolina. It's an 11 o'clock game. And that's a trap game where you think, okay, something like this can happen. South Carolina went into Georgia and did this.
Yeah, this is like a
Guns blazing. Didn't score in the second half, but the defense was very impressive.
From what I
Will
saw,
Muschamp obviously is doing something right.
Yeah, from what I saw, South Carolina just beat Georgia in every phase of the game. They just showed up more prepared, I think, because I feel like Georgia thought it was just going to be a cakewalk.
They overlooked them a little bit.
They overlooked them a little bit because I think they have to play Alabama this year in regular season. I'm not sure, but they were probably looking past them, and they just, or maybe they were looking past them to Florida. I don't know. But
right. Three Jake Fromm interceptions, really uncharacteristic. So clearly the Gamecock defense is stepping up. And, we've seen flickers of it throughout the year. Obviously, they looked really good against North Carolina. They looked good against I'm blanking, but they've looked really good all year. But obviously, the offense has not really been there. Yeah. But it came up. It was enough. Ryan Helsinki only threw for 116 yards defensively, but they did enough. Yeah. They moved the ball when they needed to.
Yeah, it's Helsinki. Helsinki is a city in Europe.
That's right. Exactly. Yeah, Helsinki. Pardon me.
Yeah. I mean, I could see how you could get that confused. It's the same structure of word, just flop some letters around.
Yeah, well, and the text I'm looking at is very tiny, and I'm getting older as we speak. So
yeah. Speaking of, I mentioned Florida a second ago. That LSU Florida game was really, really good.
It was, and I was the entire time because it was very even. There was a point where I looked up, and I think it was 28-28, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. I remember sitting here last week telling you, "Hey, man," I was telling you that LSU wins this game probably about 8 or 9 times out of 10, but I thought this is the time that Florida's going to come up and get the win. I thought this would be the 1 or 2 times, and boy, they came close. I mean, LSU obviously had enough. They kept the gas. They kept the foot on the gas late. They were able to run the ball really well, which I thought helped. Obviously, against when you have a passer like
Joe Burrow.
Joe Burrow, obviously, that's very nice. But to keep him honest, or to keep the defense honest, you have to be able to run. Otherwise, suddenly the throwing starts shutting down. You force him to make these plays. But they were able to run the ball very well. Mm-hmm. And I think that was the biggest factor for this game.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire broke off he broke off a long run, and then Tyrion Davis-Price broke off a long touchdown run. And we ran the ball very effectively, which we needed to do against Florida's really good defense.
Yeah, and it was a shame, whenever they were Florida marched back and they were about to tie it up 35-35. Looked like there was a bit of a miscommunication with Trask and the receiver. And LSU got that pick in the end zone, and it was kind of game over from there. Mm-hmm. But this is a very close game. That if a couple of things went another way, it could have been very close. This could have been another SEC overtime game, I think, because they were neck and neck until some of those little things started happening. So.
When Derek Stingley caught that interception, I was like, "Yep, that's probably gonna about do it."
That late in the game. I mean, had you been looking, if this is a situation where Florida's down 2 scores and it's like early in the third quarter that happens, there's still a lot of time. But when you're that late in the fourth, it's kind of
they were only down by 1 score at that point. It was 35-28 when he caught that interception.
Yeah, exactly. Right, I misspoke, but yeah, exactly. And but when you're that late in the game and you throw that pick, it just takes the wind out of you. And then LSU did exactly what they're supposed to, came back out and scored again, which is when you capitalize on those mistakes. That's what good teams do.
Yeah, and it's crazy because we were in New Orleans, so I was able to watch the game, and I was obviously surrounded by LSU fans at the bar that's next to my uncle's house.
Oh, man, I bet it was rowdy in there.
No, there was like 4 people.
Cool.
Like, there was LSU fans in the city, and New Orleans is such a cool atmosphere to begin with. I love the city of New Orleans. But if you walk around New Orleans on any game, if there's a big game, big LSU game that weekend, or even if it's just a big weekend for college football, you look all around you and you see fans from everywhere. There were people, I'm assuming, who would come in for the game either to go to the game or just come to watch the game. But they were wearing like University of Florida like fraternity and sorority shirts, and there were just other people wearing Florida stuff. But I saw Ohio State fans, I saw Kentucky fans, I saw a bunch of just different fan bases around, and that's one of the reasons why I love being in New Orleans. It's really fun.
Yeah. Just more of just an overall destination for folks, huh?
Yeah, it's the melting pot of the melting pot, right? Like there's so many different people in New Orleans and so many different cultures. Best food on the planet in New Orleans. It's really, really good. Speaking of people I saw in New Orleans, I would like to give a shout out to Eric. There's a bar that's like right up the street from my uncle's shop. His name is Eric. We met at the bar called Mahoney's. I believe he told me he's a Penn State fan. So Eric, if you're listening, I know you subscribed on YouTube. If you're listening, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you said you were a Penn State fan, but the rest of his friends were Minnesota Golden Gophers fans, and we just started talking because they all had on Minnesota shirts and they were down there for a bachelor party. So I hope y'all boys enjoyed y'all's weekend and enjoyed the bachelor party. And then
thanks for subscribing to the channel.
Yeah, thank you for subscribing. And then I would also like to give a shout out to Tony, Logan, and Matthew who are staying out here at the campground this week, where me and Brianna are at. I don't remember which one of you told me is an Ohio State fan because I couldn't exactly see you when you told me what your names were because I was walking back to the cabin. But they're from Indiana. They're from Indianapolis. So I hope y'all enjoy y'all's time in Florida. And I hope to see y'all before we leave on Friday morning. So shout out to y'all.
Man, absolutely.
Yeah. So, but yeah, Derek, you got anything you want to get into? It's a bit of a slow week this week, man.
Yeah, a bit of a shame. Wake Forest and Louisville left their defenses at home. Final score of this game was 62-59.
Yeah.
Shame for Wake Forest, too. They had a really good year going. It's a shame Memphis also kind of had a good season going, and Temple scored that touchdown late.
Yeah.
Major props to them, obviously, but, man, it's a shame to see Memphis go down after having such a lot of steam to their season, you know.
Temple's really good, though. Like, I don't know how Temple lost to Buffalo. Like, I think Temple should probably be undefeated right now. And it was just kind of sad to see, we had 3 undefeated teams go down on Saturday. But there's still 12 undefeated teams left. And then some of them are not like the others. Some of them you don't expect.
One of them is a Baylor team that quietly won in double overtime. If that had been in Lubbock, it would have been a different story. But they're quietly 6-0, and
if
I don't know, might be a fun contender for Texas or Oklahoma.
Yeah, I still think Iowa State's really good.
Iowa State's better than their record.
Yeah, Iowa State's better than their record. But there's a lot of teams that happens every year. Like they'll be better than their record proclaims. But I remember 3 or 4 years ago.
Heartbreaking losses. You had your heartbreaking losses, but it doesn't take away from the fact that the team is still very, very much a threat for almost anybody in the nation,
Yeah. I remember a few years ago, like back when Ole Miss was kind of good. They had like 3 losses, but they were like, "Oh, we're the best 3-loss team in the country," and I'm like, "You're gonna stop saying that after a while."
Right.
Because, it doesn't. If you have 3 losses for a reason, you hold on.
Oh,
wait. There's an ad playing on my headphones. Okay. The website I was on served me an ad and it started playing on my headphones. But anyway, I was trying to look up the list of teams who are undefeated right now. I may have it on my phone actually. I was gonna go through them.
While you're pulling that up, I gotta ask, what was the biggest takeaway for LSU's from LSU this weekend? Like, what was the one big thing that you looking forward to Alabama, what's the one thing that's got to change?
I'm not looking forward to Alabama. I'm taking it week by week. I don't want to talk about the Alabama game. I don't want to think about the Alabama game.
So, what's the biggest thing LSU can do to improve on what they're doing now?
Just keep it up. Like, honestly, keep up pace. Maybe like
keep
Coach,
the consistency.
Keep the consistency, like Coach Orgeron said. Tackle better in the open field. Improve the run game, which we have consistently done both of those things over these past 2 weeks. We just got to keep getting better and better. We have this week, and then we have Mississippi. We go to Mississippi State this week, and then we have Auburn the next week, and then we get a week off, and then we play Alabama, and I don't even want to think about it. I'll talk about it when we get there because me and you are going to be at Jack's wedding that night. So.
Ooh, is it really the same night?
Same night.
What time is the game?
I'm not sure. I could find out for you. I don't even know if they've announced it because it's still like a month away, basically.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if they haven't announced it yet.
But they are. Game day is most likely going to be there, and I found my list of undefeated teams. The undefeated teams so far: Alabama, Appalachian State, Wisconsin, Penn State, LSU, SMU. Ohio State, Baylor, Clemson, Minnesota, and Boise State and Oklahoma. So still 12
left, man.
Yeah, still 12 undefeated teams left. Some of them are not like the others. I don't know if anyone expected Minnesota and SMU and Appalachian State to still be undefeated. Shout out to Appalachian State, by the way. They are number 24. Right now, which is the highest that a Sun Belt team has ever been ranked. So, good on them. Yeah. No team in the Sun Belt Conference has ever been ranked that high, and Appalachian State's the one to do it. Yeah.
Good for them. They obviously, historically they have that big win over Michigan, which was such a big deal at the time, but
yeah.
I don't know. They just they find a way to make themselves important and bring themselves to the forefront of, every college football fan's imagination,
Oh, for sure. And you can kind of make the argument that Michigan still hasn't really recovered from that loss. Like that's kind of a
right.
bold statement to say, but I feel like there's there's an argument to be made there. I'm sorry.
I agree. No, you're fine. I was just gonna build off of what you said because I agree. I kind of, in a way, man, I almost feel like Texas hasn't quite gotten past the Kansas loss, just because they seem to put a full season together yet. Like whenever you watch, did you get a chance to watch the Red River rivalry game?
I watched part of it. It was on the TV at the restaurant we were at. I was eating lunch, but I didn't get to watch. I did see that ridiculous play that Jalen Hurts made where he passed the ball behind his back.
Yeah, I mean that kid is something else. Did you see the one play where there was 4 Texas receivers and one Oklahoma guy and
yeah, the one I sent
basically,
you?
yeah, that's right. Yeah, you did this. I sent that to me,
and I was like, "What if I told you this play ends in a touchdown?"
Yeah, I wasn't surprised because I saw it happen. But yeah, I mean, it was interesting because Texas was very secure with the ball, right? They didn't turn the ball. They didn't turn the ball over at all. Oklahoma turned it over twice, but Texas just couldn't move the ball. I think the biggest focus for Lincoln Riley moving into the year was that he really wanted to buff his defense a lot because you ended up with situations like I had to come out and put up 45 plus points to win, and now he's got a little bit more luxury because his defense has come a long way.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, his defense is playing well. Jalen Hurts is playing well.
And if they're gonna make the playoff and they're gonna try to take down an Alabama or they're gonna try to take down a Clemson, that's exactly what they need because they obviously can move the ball no problem.
Yeah,
it's just the fact of the matter is they have to. He's reasonable,
Yeah. Actually, I have a question for you, Daryl. Do you think that there should ever be? I know I've probably said what I think about this. But do you think there should ever be a situation in where 2 teams from the same conference make the playoff?
Yes, if the entire season has gone by, and you can clearly see that the 2 teams are more talented and should be in the playoff over a team that is maybe either undefeated conference. Yes, I do think so. If the circumstances are right, I think it's rare. I think that more often than not, it's going to be the best team in each conference. Obviously there's only 4 spots to fill, but I think that in most cases it's going to be that. But I do think that there are events where the top 2 teams in the SEC or the top 2 teams and Big 12 make it.
Mm-hmm. I'm a big believer in conference championships. So I think conference championships should have a lot of weight. And to me, if you don't win your conference, you shouldn't make the playoff.
And I get that, and this is we've had this discussion before ad nauseum, and you've mentioned that's sort of your opinion on that. And although at first I always sort of took the high road of like, well, yeah, but it's about who the best team is that should get in. But if you look at any other sport, or you look at anything other than college football, that's not how it is. The best teams don't always make the playoffs in the NFL. It's the teams that manage to secure a spot. So college football is kind of unique in that regard. So I totally hear where you're coming from. I don't know morally what is right if the top 4 best teams should make it, or if the 4 teams that secure a spot, quote unquote, should make it. So that's a really good. It's bigger than my pay grade. I know that much, but
I think the answer to that is. Instead of having, and we've talked about this before, obviously. The only reason I asked that is because I was on a Reddit thread, or I was somewhere on the internet and I saw people talking about it. It was in some YouTube comments earlier about, expanding the playoff, which we've talked a bunch about, several times that we could talk about much more. But, there's 10 conferences in the FBS, so give me all 10 conference champions and 2 at-large bids. So you get those, they should have made it, but they didn't. You get those like those 11-1 Big 10 teams, those 11-1 SEC teams, those 11-1 Big 12 teams that lost their conference championship, that maybe you look at their record and things like that and how they did and you put them in. But that's just one of those we could go on and on about. And I don't have all the answers, and nor do I think I should, because I'm by no means an expert.
Right now, we're just trying to figure out Now we're just trying to get good officiating in the NFL. We're a long way from an extended playoff in college football.
Oh, for sure.
But I think it would be very nice.
Oh, it will be very nice.
Well, hey man, let's get in some pick'ems because we have a couple sneaky good games this weekend.
Yeah. Tell me about Temple at number 19 SMU. Temple's playing. Temple's had a really good season. They have that one loss to Buffalo, which I don't know how on earth that happened.
Temple is they're in the hot part of their season, right? So they started out and they were fine, but I think now they're really starting to hit their stride, especially after taking down Memphis. So and the biggest thing that I really like about Temple is their defense. You look at the games that they've the one loss to Buffalo, obviously take that out of the equation, but they have 3 wins where they held the team less to under 17 points. One of them was down to 2. And then, of course, Memphis, with their high-flying offense, kept them under 30. Temple's defense is very good, and SMU did struggle against Tulsa. So it'll be interesting to see what types of adjustments they make throughout the game, because I think it'll be a slow start for SMU. I think Temple will hang around with them into the half. And I think the difference maker is going to be how SMU adjusts, because you saw them come out and make big adjustments against Tulsa, come out and they scored 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter.
3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, yeah.
Right, which is amazing. And granted, they had one when the fourth quarter started; they were already in the red zone. But the point I'm making is that can they make the adjustments to Temple's defense, because it is the real deal. I think they can. I like SMU by 10 here.
I'm actually going to go the opposite. Temple's defense, to me, Temple's defense is much better than Tulsa's defense is. SMU obviously made those adjustments going back and forth, but I think this is going to be a very defensive game. This game's not going to go to overtime. It's going to be very low scoring. I think both teams score under 20. And give me Temple by a field goal. I'm a big believer in SMU. I love the magic that they got going on this year. But you look at the way Temple's defense has played against everybody except Buffalo and Memphis, and they're they're holding people. So I do think this game could go either way, but I do think Temple. I would not be. I think Temple gets it done, but I wouldn't be shocked if SMU wins either. I'm going to be watching this game if I can, and I'm going to be cheering for SMU, but I think Temple wins.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, man. I've got you accountable. We're both accountable this week because I'm actually accountable. We're not cannibals. We are accountable this week because I'm keeping this down. I didn't actually get a chance to go back through this past week and to listen to some of our old shows, but this week I'm recording who's picking what. So next week we're gonna have some sort of little. We'll have something. We'll figure it out. Some sort of little competition. See who won more.
Yeah. Tell me about a game, Daryl. Give me a game to talk about.
Happen when the Ducks go visit the Huskies in Washington this weekend.
Ooh, good game. Always is a good game. Rivalry game. Yeah, Washington's having a bit of a disappointing season. I know there was high expectations for them. With Jacob Eason coming in there, getting things done, and they lost to Cal by a point, and they lost to Stanford by 10. But they've kind of handled the rest of their schedule. They beat USC when USC was ranked number 21. And now they get to play against the Ducks, and the Ducks' only loss right now is to Auburn. The Ducks are playing really good football. They just played Colorado this past week and beat them 45-3. They still have a really good offense. Justin Herbert's doing really good. I like the Ducks in this one. Probably by about 2 touchdowns.
I'm going to agree with you. I think the biggest thing that Oregon has going for them right now, believe it or not, is big, and as nasty as their offense is, the biggest thing they have going for them is their defense. If you take out the Auburn game, everything that they have played this season, they have held their opponent under 7 points, under a touchdown. Their defense is the real deal. I think they're going to win this game probably by I think you're probably right, about 2 touchdowns. Honestly, if you go back, you rewind to the Auburn game, this is a team that very, very well could have and should have won that game. I think that 7 times out of 10 they win that game, but Auburn, caught the lightning in the bottle there at the end. Mm-hmm. Obviously, it was a very competitive game, but if that pass that was thrown goes off, or something goes different in that last drive, you're looking at a 6-0 team that's probably top 5 right now.
Oh, for sure, 100%.
That being said, I like Oregon probably by about 2 touchdowns. I think Washington's going to hang around early, but they're not going to be able to keep up with the Ducks. So.
All right. I got an interesting game for you.
All right.
Tell me about the still number 3 but kind of struggling Clemson Tigers at Louisville at 11 a.m. on Saturday. Louisville coming off this win against, they're coming off this win against Wake Forest. They just beat an undefeated team. Took them to overtime. And their 2 losses are to currently number 9 Notre Dame and to Florida State. I do think, Louisville's been playing some good football, and, 3 years ago I think it was 2016 when Lamar Jackson was at Louisville, this game, it went down to the final.
That was a fun game.
That was a very fun game. And I think Louisville could have won that game if that receiver would have just cut inside on that last pass and got that first down. Right. I'm still a little salty about that. But how do you think this game turns out, Daryl?
I think it's pretty black and white. It is a trap game. It is an 11 a.m. game. They're going into Louisville. Louisville's coming off of a big win. I think Clemson is due 1 or 2 bad games throughout the year. They certainly already had one with North Carolina. Very easily could have lost that game, but that's not a mistake that Dabo Swinney's going to let his team make twice. I don't think. I think there's definitely a chance that Louisville can make something happen if they catch a little magic at home. But I like Clemson in this one. I like them winning big. Give me Clemson 32-20.
Yeah, I think I still think Clemson wins, but coming off of previous magic in this game, something could happen. But I also did read that Louisville's starting quarterback is having season-ending injury surgery. So,
oh no. Well, that doesn't bode well.
That does not bode well for the Cardinals.
It's 47-20.
Yeah.
and 14 of those 20 points are scored in the fourth quarter when it's garbage time.
Yeah, probably.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. Give me 16 Michigan at 7 Penn State.
Yeah. Game day's in State College for this one. Penn State's playing really good ball right now. They have a really good defense. They are hitting people in the mouth right now. Big game, always a big game. In conference, in division game. They're in the same division. But I think Penn State's too much. Michigan's kind of gotten it together here recently, but I just think Penn State's too good. I think their defense is way too good. They haven't given up more than 13 points all season. Their offense is great. Clifford, their quarterback, has really come on. Give me Penn State by 10.
Yeah, it's I may have to disagree with you here, man. I know that the odds are sort of stacked against Michigan because obviously they have not had the year that they have wanted to have so far. And then when you go into a top 10 team you go to face a top 10 team on the road, it's a bad place to go. So I mean, the safe pick here would be to go with Penn State. But for some reason, I have a gut feeling about this, and I think Michigan is going to pull it out. They showed up big against Iowa. They showed up. Well, they didn't really show up. Or they had the close matchup with Army early on. I think that they've sort of had their stressful situations. And I think that if they're late in the game and if they can hang around until late in the game, I think they're going to probably pull it out. So give me Michigan by 3. I got them with lightning in a bottle.
Yeah, I think they could probably get something done. Even though, game day is going to be in State College, and they're going to be at Penn State. They could probably do something, but I like the Nittany Lions in this one.
I get it. It's a safe pick. It's what I should be picking, but I don't know. Something's just not letting me.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. I'm just not a big believer in Michigan.
I get it. I get it.
They should have.
And half of my rationale for picking Michigan is I think that they win this game, they get hot and they get really big and cocky, and then they just hit a wall when they go to Ohio State.
Yeah, I mean Michigan's probably not going to beat Ohio State this year.
But it wouldn't surprise me if they win this game, start feeling really good, get the fans' hopes up, and then just hit Ohio State like a brick wall.
Yeah, so
it tells me karma is going to make that happen. I don't know why, but
for sure. Tell me about the game that is formerly known as the third Saturday in October when the Tennessee Volunteers go to number 1 Alabama.
Don't bother watching this game. Alabama will win by 30 by halftime. Mm-hmm. That is not a prediction. That is a spoiler.
Yeah.
If I could quote some Paul Heyman here, yeah, Alabama wins this one big, nothing complicated.
Yeah. Unless you're a Tennessee fan or an Alabama fan, don't watch this one because there are going to be probably much better games on at the time.
That'll be nasty, for sure.
Even though it's a rivalry game, Tennessee's not very good. So yeah,
kind of the same thread. Georgia dropped a 10. After their loss, which is, reasonable. I mean, they did lose at home to a quote-unquote lesser opponent. So now they have an interesting test. They've got Kentucky, who, is very word I'm looking for. They got a lot of fight in them, especially whenever they play Florida. Mm-hmm. So Kentucky's a team's got nothing to lose. But they do have to go to Georgia. So is Georgia going to bounce back, or does Kentucky somehow manage to make something happen here?
Georgia real big, and I only say that because Kentucky is down to their third string quarterback who was converted from wide receiver.
I'm with you. I think Georgia wins big.
Yeah, and Kentucky just beat Arkansas, which isn't saying much.
Right, exactly. So, yeah. Arkansas almost had them that time though. It was a close game.
Yeah. So Georgia real big. Converted wide receiver quarterbacks do good sometimes, but this won't be the week.
Big time.
Yeah. So Tell me about 5-1, number 22 Missouri going to Vanderbilt.
This is a fun game. I like Mizzou. I do. But whenever they go to Vandy, they always typically play a little better at home. Vandy does. But that being said, they're 1-5, so it's going to take something special. I got Mizzou probably winning by at least 10.
Yeah. Vanderbilt just lost 34-10 to UNLV. So give me Mizzou by like 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, I agree.
Can we talk about Mizzou for a second? They've won 5 straight, and their only loss is to Wyoming.
Yeah. There's definitely something going on good there. I don't think they want anybody talking about it. I think they want to stay very quiet until they get to sort of a bigger win in their schedule. Yeah. But I mean, it's one of those things. Is when you play in the East like that, it's all just nothing is really said and done until you hit Georgia or until you hit Florida.
Yeah.
But I'm sure they're very happy.
Yeah. Mizzou might mess around and end up in Atlanta.
Hey, you know what? I'd be all for it.
They go to Vanderbilt this week, and then next week they go to Kentucky. Then the week after that they go to Georgia. And then they go to Georgia, and then they get Florida at home, and they finish the season with Tennessee and Arkansas at home. Oh no, Tennessee at home, Arkansas on the road. So if they can, knock off Georgia or Florida, and they have a knack for beating Florida.
And it's a shame that their season sort of started off on the wrong foot with that loss to Wyoming, because you take that out of the equation, and suddenly you're looking at a team that's probably number 12 or number 13 right now, going into 2 very favorable matchups, and then it all leads into Georgia. So I mean, Georgia controls a lot of teams' fates this year. Just because they are so good, and with them having their one loss, I don't see them getting in unless they win the East and somehow win the SEC. It's not going to be a situation where they lose the SEC but still deserve to be in. I don't think that's going to happen at this point with their loss. So yeah, I think Mizzou is probably going to coast into that Georgia game, and then they'll have to obviously go to Florida.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, they host Florida. My apologies.
Yeah.
And then after that, it's smooth sailing to Arkansas, and then potentially an SEC championship. So yeah, I don't know. And you mentioned this actually like week 1 or 2 that Mizzou have a very big year, and we kind of were in agreement, but I think it'll be interesting to see what happens from here on out.
My prediction was that they would go 8-0 into their game against Georgia, and besides that one hiccup against Wyoming, who was playing good football this year, they're 4-2 right now. They only lost by 6 points, but Wyoming just ran all over them.
Well, and it's interesting, right? I mean, and we talk about just the momentum of a season. If you're a coach, you would much rather have that loss to a lesser opponent in game 1 than in game 6. You could have a 1-loss season going into Georgia, but you'd much rather have it be the first game than somewhere in the middle, because then it's like, well, what happened that time? Here you can go, it was an early start. People aren't really thinking about it. They're just seeing a 1. They're not really questioning why. It looks so much better.
Yeah. Losing to Wyoming or like a lower ranked team early in the in week 1 looks a heck of a lot better than it does like week 10. Because you lose week 10, that derails your whole season right there.
Yeah, exactly. Because you're homing in on that spot that's obviously waiting for you if you finish things out. But early enough, you really build a case.
So, but yeah, you got another. Tell me about another game.
Let me see.
I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I didn't really have anything. I just had a thought, but it wasn't really complete. Let's see. I'm trying to make sure we have all the ones on our featured list.
I think we got one more to go.
Which one was that? That was. Oh yeah, here it is. Oh, I was like, is this on our list? What's your pick for Arizona State going into Utah?
Dipping back into the Pac-12 pool again for this week. 2 ranked versus ranked games in the Pac-12. Arizona State's playing good football right now. The Pac-12 is one of those conferences. it seems like every year you look up and you're like, all right, who wants to win this conference? There's a conference championship, sitting right over there. You can go grab it if you want to. It's right over there. Don't everybody take off at once. So, Arizona State's 5-1, number 17. They're playing good defense, and their only loss is by 3 points to Colorado, I believe, because they missed a field goal, if I'm not mistaken. And then they beat Cal when Cal was ranked and playing good defense. And
you could say the same about Utah. I mean, they have one respectable loss to by 3 points, by 7 to an unranked USC. But I mean, both one-loss teams with respectable losses.
Yeah. And Utah had a lot of big expectations coming into this season. Everybody had them as a dark horse sleeper for the playoff. Utes are at home. I believe they're at home. Yeah, Utes are at home. Give me Utah by a touchdown. It'll probably be a close game because they're playing in Utah.
By a touchdown, so says Spencer. Yeah, I understand that. I think that's a very good pick. I so badly want to pick Arizona just to compete and say you're wrong, but I think that I think you're right. I think Utah pulls this out, especially at home. I think that the one loss that they have is something that is fixable, and obviously they rebounded in a big way in the weeks following. Loss against Colorado, to me, is a little more telling of Arizona State. I think that their defense has more questions on it. So, yeah, I like the Utes at home. I like them winning probably by about 10.
Yeah, I agree with that, too. Just because they're
Arizona
at home.
Arizona State makes a late push, but Utah manages to pull it out.
Oh, for sure. I'm with that all the way.
Then I think we have our special games for the league, don't we?
Yeah, we have those. Let me see. Let me hop back over in here. Yeah.
Real quick before that, though, do you have any worries about LSU taking down Mississippi State this weekend?
Not really. I was reading a thing where Bear from Gameday was talking about how, and I've got it pulled up right here, about how there could be a letdown for LSU, like how they could stumble, but I don't think they will. I think that we're playing really well right now, and Mississippi State. Mississippi State has this habit of like they'll be having not such a good season. They're 3-3 and they'll sneak up and grab somebody.
Believe me, I know.
But they just lost by 10 points to Tennessee, so I'm not that worried. I still think it's going to be it's an SEC game, so it's not going to just be. It's not just going to be a gimme, but I think LSU, our offense is too much and our defense is improving. So
obviously they're coming out of a very tough game last week. I mean, they're and there's a double-edged sword of that, because you come out feeling good. You're like, man, we managed to win a big-time game, but there's also a physical toll. I think you have to be careful, especially going into Davis Wade Stadium. It's very tough to play there. It gets very loud just because of this freaking cowbells.
Do you know why the cowbells exist? Do you know why they started that tradition?
Probably because they're loud.
That, and because way back in the day, they were playing a game against, I believe they were playing in the Egg Bowl against Ole Miss before it was called the Egg Bowl, or they're playing against somebody, and during the game, a cow wandered onto the field, and then they killed and ate the cow, but they kept the bell. And
but that isn't just the most wholesome redneck story.
I mean, this was back in the early 1900s, so that cow had stood zero chance.
Of course.
But yeah, I think LSU wins by about 20 points. Yeah,
I understand. I'm picking LSU as well, but look for this to be a little awkward.
Yeah.
In the first half, you're going to be looking up and going, what's going on? LSU may only have like a 3-point lead going into the half, and you might go, what is happening right now? And I think in the second half, LSU will come out and finish the job. But do not be surprised if this is like 13-10 going into half.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me either. Yeah, so
State is weird like that.
Yeah, so we're gonna get to this bottom of the barrel game right now.
Ooh, let's go.
Daryl, tell me about the 2-4 Buffalo Bulls going to the, I believe, 0-6 Akron Zips.
I'm gonna go with the Akron Zips. I think that their first win is coming this weekend. It's October. It's feeling better outside than it has been. I think they got nothing to lose. They're at home. Probably. Is it time for homecoming games? This is about the time of year for homecoming games, isn't it?
Yeah, we just had a few. This might be homecoming for them. I'm not sure.
It may not be. I'm going to assume it's their homecoming game, and I'm going to take Akron winning big.
I'm gonna take Buffalo because a bull is bigger and stronger than a kangaroo. I like Buffalo's symbol. I like their logo. I like their uniforms, and they beat Temple. So give me the Bulls in this one.
Oh, you said they beat Temple. That may make me change my mind a little bit. No, I'm sticking with Akron.
Yeah.
But yeah, that'll be a fun game that I definitely will not watch.
I definitely won't watch that one either. But yeah.
To our time machine game of the week.
Yeah, for those of you who are new around here, you get to be a time traveler and tell us about a game. You get to tell us how wrong we were about a game that you'll get to see before Recorded Us will. Uploaded Us knows the result of this game, but Recorded Us doesn't.
Right, so we're time traveling around you, but
yeah,
just you're like when you see like a train moving, but you're sitting in your car and you're still. If you look at it just right, it feels like you're moving with the train sitting still. That's kind of what you are right now.
Yeah.
That's the worst sensation, isn't it? It's just like, ugh.
It's freaky.
Trippy. Yeah.
So tell me about UCLA at Stanford. Dipping back into the Pac-12 pool.
And pull that up real quick. UCLA has been very down this year, have they not?
Yeah, except for that wild game they had against that wild comeback they had against Washington State.
Okay, here we go. I'm getting the game pulled up now.
Yeah, UCLA's 1-5. By the way.
Oh no.
They're
There we go. At Stanford. Yeah, they go to Stanford. Yeah, I think Stanford wins this one big, especially at home. There's not a whole lot to say about this one. I just think that Stanford is, this is a game they should win.
Yeah, let me tell you about UCLA's lone win on the season. At one point in about...
Oh my God.
Yeah. At one point, with about 5 minutes left in the third quarter, Washington State was up on UCLA 49-17, and somehow, some way, with their 0.2% chance to win the game, UCLA comes back from being down 49-17 and wins this game 67-63.
They channeled a little bit of that Josh Rosen energy from back whenever he came back against A&M a couple of years ago.
Josh Rosen's so bad, dude.
Oh, but he had his moments in college, and
he had one good game in college, and then he gets.
In his defense, in the NFL, he's not exactly with an organization that is going to really be able to take advantage of what he can bring to the table.
That's fine, but he wasn't good in Arizona either. So.
Yeah. So we're about taking Stanford.
Yeah, Stanford. Yeah, I'm sorry. I went on a tangent about how bad Josh Rosen is. Stanford.
Rosen.
Stanford, simply because UCLA is real bad. They got one fluke miracle win, and Stanford always plays good defense, and plus they're going to be at the farm in Stanford, so give me Stanford.
Stanford over Washington and Oregon State, and then of course they actually played a very solid game against Oregon too. So Stanford's much better than 3-3, but that's just kind of where we're at.
Yeah. Yeah, Stanford.
Absolutely. Well, man, is there any other games you want to cover, or should we move on to our last segment?
Let's move on to that last segment, or one of the last segments. Tell me about
a second one?
Yeah. We got that second one down there. But tell me about a cool uniform, Daryl. You said you had one.
Yeah, so plot twist, usually Spencer is the one that brings the uniform of the week, whatever sort of alternate or crazy uniforms are going on, that'll be worn in the coming week or weeks. This week I picked it because I happened to see one on Instagram that I was very pumped about. So this week is Illinois' homecoming.
Mm-hmm.
And they are playing against Wisconsin, which will be a very tough game. But hey, it's a homecoming game. They're wearing a uniform called the Gray Ghost, which they actually did wear last year. I think they revamped a couple little things, a couple minor changes. Illinois' colors are like Astros colors. They're orange and a dark blue. Their orange is a little bit darker than the Astros orange, but it's the same sort of. It's a very similar color scheme. And with the Gray Ghost uniforms, they sort of wiped the orange entirely, and it's just the gray uniform, but it has a really nice navy blue trimming to go with it. They're Nike. The helmet has a really nice a blue finish, a blue matted finish. So these are super duper nice. Spencer will post a link to that in the description so you guys can take a look. But I mean, these things are very nice.
Yeah, I'm familiar with these. I saw these last year, and I believe last year the numbers were white with a navy blue outline. This year the numbers are all navy blue.
Right, so they went for a more darker tone on this one.
Yeah, it looks really good. It looks like almost something that Memphis would wear if it was the shade of blue was lighter. But gray on uniforms just looks so good. Depending on a team's color scheme, I think every team should have an all gray or an all black uniform in their repertoire. But
and to be clear, as I look at these, I kept thinking to myself like it looks so much nicer if it had the orange trim instead, because it would just contrast more with the gray.
Yeah,
but it does look very very good with that navy blue.
Mm-hmm. And like there's like a cool texture on the numbers too. I saw that as well. But yeah, those look really good. I like those, Daryl.
Absolutely, man. Felt good to pick it this week.
Yeah, I believe it.
Feel powerful.
Yeah. So, Daryl, tell me something as we're about to wrap up here. Tell me something about something cool outside the world of college football.
Cool outside the world of college football. The Astros look very good right now.
The Astros do look very good right now.
Yeah, and we kind of touched on Joker earlier, which I feel like we kind of covered that. But yeah, the Astros are playing really well right now. There was a bit of a rain delay this week, so by the time this show goes up, they'll probably be on game, or they will be on game 5. I think is it 5? Yeah.
When we upload game 5, will be that
be
night.
The game of that night, and then we will have just been coming off game 4. The Astros are playing very well right now. It's sort of fun. I always think back to the 2017 World Series, not just because the Astros won for the first time ever, and I myself and Spencer too, being lifelong Astros fans, and being used to them being horrible. It's just very nice to sort of see them come around and turn things around. But the special thing about 2017 was just that Hurricane Harvey had just happened, so it was a very storybook year that the town of Houston got a championship brought home. No hurricane this year. Fingers crossed, knock on wood, all that good stuff. But we did have a very nasty tropical storm that did leave a lot of people with a lot of homes. So
yeah, I cannot describe to you the magic of seeing one of your pro sports teams win a championship, because that was the first time I had ever watched a pro sports team of mine win a championship. Obviously, I watched LSU win the national championship in 2003 and 2007, but I didn't follow football as big as I do now. I was a big Texas Longhorn fan back then, so I didn't really care as much about LSU. But it's like an emotional high you get for seeing like a professional team that win a championship, because
and it's nothing I thought I would ever experience, because the odds of that happening are so low unless you just pick a team that has been historically good or whatever.
I mean,
but especially for a team,
they're 1 in 30, right?
Right,
there's
exactly.
30 MLB teams, so.
Well, and not only that, but I mean, you look at it like it's easy to be born and be like, I am a Yankees fan, and historically they've won a lot before. The Yankees are an organization that will always be in the hunt because they simply run the best program, and next to the Cowboys, they run like the highest program in all of sports, like the most money making, I mean. And so they're always going to be able to get what they need to pull in revenue. But the Astros, I mean, we grew up and the Astros are horrible. I mean, they were one of the worst teams, and you never never thought that was going to happen.
Yeah, now they're arguably the best team in baseball.
Exactly. So
we got to get through the Yankees first. But
right. And even if they don't go, even if they lose, they won last year. They won the year before last. Last year they went to the playoffs again. This year they're right smack dab in the middle of the hunt. It's just something I never thought I'd see.
Yeah. So it's crazy. So I actually have something cool outside of college football I want to talk about. I know Daryl last week I got the chance to talk about your channel, and you uploaded a very good video this week. We watched it when we were in New Orleans at my uncle's house. It was great. I like that one. But I'm going to tell you about another one of our friends. His name is Trey. And he has a YouTube channel called Trey Plays. And it's October right now. And every Monday night at 8 o'clock, he does a live stream on YouTube of a game that he's playing. And right now he's playing Until Dawn, and he's about in the middle of it. But he's playing a bunch of like scary, like horror type games because we're in October and Halloween, obviously. So if you're into video games and if you enjoy video games and watching people stream, come be a member of what is affectionately known as the Lobster Squad, and we'll talk to you in the chat.
Hop in there. Yeah, we often frequent that chat, so we're in there most Monday nights, sort of off and on. So yeah, if you want to come hang out with us and hang out with Trey and watch him play some awesome games and listen to his excellent commentary, then absolutely do that, and we'll all be hanging out and be a good time.
Yeah, just to, we've talked about we record on Monday. Trey usually streams at about 8 o'clock on Monday, and we usually record at about 6:30 on Monday. And then he streams really right after we record, so we get to record and talk, and then we get to go jump in the chat when he's playing. We're recording on a Wednesday this week, just because I'm on vacation and we've both been kind of busy.
You had me shook for a second. I was like, "Is it Monday?" I feel it's been a long week to be a Monday.
Yeah,
but yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So, but yeah, definitely come check him out if you're a fan of video games or you're just a fan of people trolling a friend of theirs, because we do that a lot to Trey. So,
or if you're just a fan of content, come check it out.
Yeah. So, yeah, Darryl, you got anything else?
I'm ready, man. It's gonna be a fun weekend.
It's gonna be
Stros. Go Cowboys. Try to turn things around.
We lost to the Jets, Daryl.
And that'll be all the show this week.
Yeah.
Thank y'all so much for joining us, man.
Yeah, thank y'all for listening.
Like button below, subscribe, tell your friends, comment, let us know what we were right and wrong about.
Yes, sir. All right, y'all. See y'all next week. Bye.
Be good.